In the words of Ecclesiastes, a season is set for everything, time for every experience under heaven, a time for dancing and a time for wailing, a time for speaking and a time for silence, a time for seeking and a time for losing, a time for birthing and a time for dying. The time of mourning is heartbreaking, it's complicated. We are filled with emotion and memories. We're grateful for the gift of life that we celebrated. And we are brokenhearted that Michael is not here to share this commemoration with us. He would love to know of the hundreds and thousands outside, the millions around this country who are thinking of him today. And yet, he's not here with us. He's in a place of peace after 33 days of incredible suffering. He's no longer in pain. And so in the Jewish tradition, when we mourn someone, we connect their name to our history. We use the words of the Psalms, we use prayers to link Michael, David, Michael, David, his life to the tradition of the people of Israel and the eternity of God. The 15th Psalm, Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai mi yagur be'olecha, mi yishkon b'char kadshecha. Can we deserve to enter God's sanctuary? Can we merit a place in the presence of God? Live with integrity, cholech tamim ofel tzedek, do what is right. V'dover emet bilbavo, speak the truth without deceit. Have no slander upon your tongue, do no evil to others. Do not mistreat your neighbor, spurn a contemptible person, but honor those who honor others, who honor God. Never retract a promise once made, though it may bring you harm. Lend no money at unfair rates, accept no bribe against the innocent. Make these deeds your own, and you shall stand firm forever. Michael was someone whose deeds stood firm. He was someone who would never accept a bribe against the innocent. He was someone who cared for the innocent. He was someone who cared for the not so innocent when there were those whose life choices he would not have agreed with. He still worked to help give them a chance at a better life, feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, the words that come over and over and over, whether we call it the Holy Torah, whether we call it the Bible, whether we speak of the Quran, those words ring true, and they were the words that he lived by. So I want to begin I'll go back and forth between words of tradition and words of those who knew and loved him. So I want to invite Major Patrice Hubbard to share a poem in his memory.
A few days ago, Karen was looking for something, and she found the eulogy that Mike had given for her mother in 2007. She thought it was strange that she just found this, and then she believed that maybe it was meant to be read here today. I am humbled that she asked me to read this, and proud to stand here and honor Mike, who was many things to many people, but to me he was a man with a big heart, and someone that I'm proud to say is my friend. The Dash by Linda Ellis. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke of the following date with tears, but he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time they spent alive on earth, and now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters most is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that still can be rearranged. To be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a while. So when your eulogy is being read, with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about you and how you lived your dash?
Hello, my name is Michael Shade. I've been Mike's sergeant for the past year and a half, but we've been friends for my entire 17-year career. We were zone partners when I first came onto the department. Mike and I were both from the Northeast, the New York, New Jersey area. He was a volunteer firefighter and a chiropractor. I was an accountant, so we both had a unique career path to law enforcement. Mike was always joking around and making the job fun. He had a passion for traffic enforcement. Since being in this traffic section, he has had his hand in a little bit of everything. He worked in the DUI unit a couple of times, but he made the most of it the second time around. He became a crash investigator, a backup motorcycle unit, and got involved with the Marine unit, which is where he really wanted to go full time. He would assist with events by riding jet skis and helping with the two main boats. Mike really liked the rib style boat because it had the large inflatable bumper around the hull. He liked this boat because it was the most forgiving, which for Mike meant he could hit things and cause no damage. Don't get me wrong, he was good at operating the boats, but in the office we always referred to him as the bull in the china shop, and on the water his reputation was no different. During the most recent Grand Prix this year, Mike was operating one of the department jet skis and was responsible for patrolling a security zone around the track. This meant that while racing was taking place on the track, no boats could be operated in the security zone. During one of the practices for a race, a guy in a small dinghy was operating his boat in the area. Mike literally raced into action. He went full throttle towards this dinghy. Unfortunately, Mike misjudged how close he was to the dinghy and how fast he was going, so he put the ski into a dramatic sliding stop. The problem was this created a large wall of water that completely soaked the poor guy. Being the consummate professional that Mike was, he gave the guy a couple seconds to catch his breath and keep his dinghy from turning over, and simply said, "Sorry," and went right into his lecture about operating boats in a secure area while the track was hot. The guy looked at Mike, who was completely soaked, and said, "I was just trying to get some beer." Mike nodded and stayed professional and escorted the guy back to his yacht. As good as this story is, the end is what really makes Mike a special person. When our assignment was done for the day, he went and got the guy a 12-pack of beer and walked it to his boat. That was Mike, a bull in the china shop, with the kindest heart out there. While in the office, Mike was the first one in every morning. He claims it was to work out, but we could never confirm that. I would come in and we would both say, "Good morning, Michael," to each other. But Mike always liked to sit in the dark working on his computer. I would turn on the lights, and he would give me that Weiskopf look, but he added the squint for emphasis, and then we would begin our day. We always liked to tease Mike when Karen would call him in the morning because he had, like for all of us, a unique special ringtone. It was the Darth Vader Star Wars theme, you know the one. He would smile and go back to his cubicle to speak with her. Being that Mike was a chiropractor before becoming a police officer, he would have regular customers from all over the department come in to the office to get adjustments. He would always do the adjustments, and he'd walk back to his office with his chest a little farther out than it was before. He was always happy to help someone feel better. One of Mike's biggest priorities every morning was, quote, "Where are we going to lunch?" His favorite lunch partner was Willie Jennings. They would make suggestions to each other each morning, but they would usually end up in the same place. When Willie retired in May of this year, Mike offered to take him out on a special lunch. So they went to one of the steakhouses on Tyrone Boulevard, and Mike told Willie to get whatever he wanted. So if you know Willie, he did. Appetizer, steak and seafood, dessert. Mike came back to the office and he had this shocked look on his face. And he said, "Willie cost me this huge lunch. I told him to get whatever he wanted, but I didn't think he would get that much." He shouldn't have been surprised. They went to lunch together every day. These are just a couple of many stories that I could share about Mike. I enjoy sharing these stories because he brought a lot of laughter to the office. And I think he's smiling right now knowing that these stories may have made you smile today. Mike took great pride in being a police officer, whether he was handling a fatality crash, being on the motorcycle for the many officer funerals that he worked throughout the state, working in the Marine unit, or working his permanent baseball assignment at Tropicana Field. He would help anyone with anything. He balanced his work life and his family life and tried to make the most out of both. Mike made a positive impact on this department and on this city. He was a great cop, a great husband, a great brother, a great son, a great friend, a great human being. We love you, Mike, and we will always have a place for you in our hearts. Thank you.
From the 34th Psalm. Lechubanim, Shimuli, come my children, and listen carefully, and you will learn what it means to fear God. Mia'ish chachabet chaim, who is one who is eager for life and desires years of good fortune? And that guard your tongue from evil, your lips from deceitful speech. Shun evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. Michael was someone who's devoted his life to seeking peace. He was someone who devoted his life to caring for others, to his family, and to his loved ones, to his friends, to each and every one of you that is here, to each and every one of you that is in this room, to each and every one of you that is standing outside, listening in a car, watching wherever you are. He cared for you. He cared for this city. And while it wasn't the place he was born, St. Petersburg became his home, as it has for so many of us who found our way from New York and New Jersey and Ohio and all the other, all those other colder states. But he found in this city a spirit of loving kindness. In Hebrew, we would speak of acts of gemilut chasadim, of loving kindness. And the choices that he made over the course of his life were ones to bring loving kindness into this world. So he was one who guarded his tongue. He was one who was an incredible listener, who people knew they could talk to and he wasn't going to blab it around, who people knew that just by seeing the smile on his face, the way he looked at you, that you could trust him. Not everybody has that. That is a gift and a skill. And he had both the gift and the skill. He cultivated listening. But he was blessed with that root, that seed that he was able to grow. I want to invite Phil Green to share some reflections as a friend.
A tribute to my friend Mike. Deeds, not words, come to mind whenever I think of Mike. A devoted husband, son, brother, an amazing friend to all. Such a wonder to be around. A true humanitarian, chiropractor, medic, firefighter, and police officer who will always be remembered while anyone has ever been around Mike. If you were lucky enough to get that sideways grin when he was explaining some crazy thing that happened, expect tears of laughter, and it was often with Michael. And there was plenty who had that experience with him. He always had a smile no matter what. A rare individual in all respects. I can't even explain how many times he told me how many lives he had touched, and so many stories of the lives that he didn't tell us about, that he had changed for individuals. Your memory is eternal to us. Rest in peace, my brother. God bless you, sir. From us lesser men, Tango 5, you are home now. Thank you.
Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, v'lo ata ben horin libatel mimena. The job, the career, the life that Michael chose is one that doesn't end. There's weekends and nights, there's on-calls and all sorts of opportunities that the rest of us don't necessarily have in quite the same way. It's a job that is never ending. And yet it is possible because of all of the friends, the brothers and the sisters who work together night and day to ensure the well-being of our community, of our society. Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor. You cannot complete the task, but it doesn't mean we don't try. And in Michael's life, it took him a little trying to find the task he was working on. We heard of his life as a chiropractor, as an EMT, as a firefighter, until one day he said to Karen, I'd like to move to Florida and join the St. Petersburg Police Department. And there he found a task. And while it may be finished for him, it is not finished for all the rest of us. I'd like to invite John Forzano to share some more reflections.
I would like to say that Mike was a friend of mine, and he was a friend to everybody here. I know that he loved doing what he did because he talked about it often. He loved all of you, all the fellow officers, more than you know. He would just love going to work, and Sergeant, you're right, he loved being on the water. He really enjoyed that very much. I'm just so sorry, Karen, for all of our loss, especially yours. I know what a great guy he was, and I asked him in today's world, why would you want to continue to be a police officer? And he told me, because I make a difference. And he did make a difference. And it just affected everybody on both sides of the coin that he talked to, I'm sure. He loved training. He would talk about the other officers, the younger officers that he would train when they were doing the DUI, when they would do anything. He just loved teaching. He loved knowledge, reading books. If I wasn't feeling good, he had a book to recommend for it. Whatever you did, he supported you. He never judged. He only offered the help. You can't ask for more than that in a friend. I just want to say he lived his life the way he wanted to. And I'd like to read a poem by Chief Tecumseh, written back in the 1700s. He was part of the Shawnee tribe. So live your life that the fear of death can never enter into your heart. Trouble no one about their religion, respect others in their view, and demand that they respect yours. Love your life, perfect your life, beautify all things in your life. Seek to make your life long and its purpose in the service of your people. Prepare a noble death song for the day when you go over the great divide. Always give a word or a sign of salute when meeting or passing a friend, even a stranger when in a lonely place. Show respect to all people and grovel to none. When you arise in the morning, give thanks for the food and for the joy of living. And if you see no reason for giving thanks, the fault lies only in yourself. Abuse no one and no thing, for abuse turns the wise ones to fools and robs the spirit of its vision. When it comes your time to die, be not like those whose hearts are filled with the fear of death, so that when their time comes, they weep and pray for a little more time to their lives, so that they over and over again in a different way live them. Sing your death song and die like a hero going home. Goodbye, Mike. We'll see you when we all get home.
Also from Pirkei Avot, Ezechu mechubad, mechabed et habriot. Who is one who is honored? The one who honors others. And this is the life that Michael lived. His life was about honor and respect, about being a source of dignity and compassion to others, sometimes on the worst day of their life. And he showed them respect. He showed them compassion. He showed them kindness, even when they didn't necessarily show that to him. But he knew. He lived this verse in every fiber of his being. Ezechu mekabad, who is honored? The one who honors humanity. I'm going to invite Michael's wife, Karen, to share some reflections.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mike's wife, Karen, and I'd like to share my reflections of my husband, best friend, and soulmate. Mike has always been a humanitarian. He's been an EMT, a lieutenant in the fire department, a doctor, a chiropractor, and a police officer, and known to many as Doc. Mike chose to go to 911 to help firefighters and search and rescue teams and their dogs. He never told anyone and cried like a baby in my arms when he returned. Duty, decency, reliability, honor, dignity, and respect. These are all qualities that Mike not only held high in esteem, but practiced every day during his time on earth. My backbone, strong, great friend, and funny were words used to describe Mike. And he was all of that and more. Today I finally grasped the unexpected things are always going to happen in life. I've had to realize the only control that I have is how I choose to handle the unexpected. On this day, I've decided to survive through Mike's legacy, using his wisdom, courage, humor, and grace, and carry out his dreams. Mike and I shared many deep conversations about his job and the inherent risk that were part of his daily life. He would often say to me, when it's your time, it's your time. This was not Mike's time. He made a risky decision not to vaccinate like so many others. I've watched a very strong mental and physical, healthy man suffer through a very long and agonizing illness over the course of 28 days that ultimately resulted in his death. Mike had always had a keen sense that there was a coronavirus and never debated that fact. He remained steadfast in his beliefs that he did not know what was in the vaccine. Mike wished he had been vaccinated when the virus became too much to bear, and we cried together and prayed. I shared that no one who is unvaccinated has caught this strain, Delta, Delta Plus, or any of the new strains or mutations that are evolving, or you wouldn't be here today unvaccinated. The virus is lethal. You do not want to take this battle on. I promise you it's grueling, dangerous, and it will destroy you. The survival rate is 0. Mike, the moment that you left me, my heart split in two. One side is filled with our memories together. The other side died with you. I often lay awake at night when the world is fast asleep, and I take a walk down memory lane with tears rolling down my cheeks. I feel you alongside me, and remembering you is easy. I do it every day, but missing you is a heartache that's never going to go away. I hold you tightly within my heart, and there you will remain. My life will never be the same until we're together again. I love you more than life itself. I love you. That's all I know to say, but in my heart, it's everything.
Today, we are gathered to remember Michael David Weiskopf, Michael David Ben Nachem, born in the Bronx to Lois and to Norman, brother to Daniel, husband to Karen. He found his calling with his brothers and sisters in blue. Becoming a police officer was not the first way he served the community, but it was where he found his community and how he made our city his home. Michael was a mensch. When he found his way to St. Petersburg, the same loving kindness, the same desire to do good that he shared in all those other roles was revealed as a police officer. Whether working the traffic section or as a traffic homicide investigator or even escorting fallen brothers and sisters as part of a motorcycle unit, he exercised his job with responsibility, precision, and respect. Once again, he supported those in need quietly and without fanfare. He kept car seats and toys in his trunk so that they would always be available in a time of need. On the Jewish calendar, next Monday night is Rosh Hashanah, and just a week later is Yom Kippur. These are two of the holiest days on the Jewish calendar. The New Year and the Day of Atonement are times when we reflect on our mortality, reflect on the choices that we have made, reflect on the lives that we are living. We do cheshbon hanefesh, an accounting of our souls. And if we were to do this on Michael's account, it is clear that he should have been written in the book for another year, but we stand here knowing that he was not. Michael was the third, and there's now been another, the fourth officer, law enforcement officer in the state of Florida this week to die of COVID-19. COVID-19 is the leading cause of death among Leos nationwide for 2020 and 2021. The leading cause. Those who put on the badge know that every day is a blessing. But this COVID curse is mostly preventable. Right now it is the curse of the unvaccinated. Every day you put on your badge. For many of you, you put on a gun. You wouldn't walk around without ammunition for that weapon. You put on a vest, and you wouldn't go into a dangerous situation without wearing a vest. Get your vaccine. That's your vest. The vaccine is not 100% effective, but it's 99% effective at keeping you from dying. 99%. That's pretty good. If I bought a lottery ticket with 99% chance, I'd be pretty happy with that. There are breakthrough infections. You can get sick, but you're probably not going to die if you get the shot. When Karen was in the ICU, if we were having this conversation a year ago, and Karen, God forbid, was in the ICU, the people in the ICU were generally much older than Michael. But now, that's not what's in the ICU. You can't call an ambulance in this city right now without too long a wait. Right now in that ICU are people in their 30s and 40s and 50s, young, healthy people without major complications, until this insidious disease finds its way into their body. And Karen shared with me the journey of other spouses and families who she saw every day at the hospital, and she was lucky. Not every hospital lets people into the COVID ward. Karen's vaccinated. She was around him 24/7 before he was hospitalized. She's not, thankfully, sick. She's sitting right here with us. Karen had been working for months to convince Michael to get his vaccine. And like many, he was unsure. And after getting sick, he was ready to do it, but it was too late. So I stand here brutally honest. We should not be here today. We should not be here today. We should not be mourning this mensch, this good man, this upstanding officer. This is an unnecessary tragedy. This is a preventable tragedy. In the Tampa Bay Times yesterday, there was an article from a respiratory therapist named Karen Gallardo, and she talked about the experience of those who made their way to the ICU with COVID-19. Stage 1, you've had debilitating symptoms for a few days and it's so hard to breathe. You go to the ER. I'm squishing, I'm simplifying, I'm not sharing the whole thing. Open the paper yesterday, read the article. Stage 2, it's harder and harder to breathe. The phrase that comes over and over and over again is people speak of it as if they're drowning. That trying to breathe is like trying to breathe underwater. Now Michael loved the water, but nobody wants the water in their lungs. By stage 3, you're exhausted from hyperventilating. You cannot get oxygen. Your breath becomes more labored, and the oxygen content in your blood is critically low. They prepare to intubate you. And if you're able and there's time, they'll suggest a final phone call, because there's no idea whether or not after that intubation you'll be waking up again. They connect you to a ventilator. They put tubes in places you don't really want tubes. And some patients do survive stage 4. But your oxygen levels and condition have not improved. And after several days on the vent, your COVID-infected lungs need more. So they prepare to open your lungs. The pressure that it takes is so high that your lungs leak. And then you need another tube to get the air out of your chest cavity. Your kidneys start to fail as the byproducts from the drugs they're continuously giving you. Your body swells from fluid retention and you need dialysis. Your weakened immune system makes you susceptible to infection. You have fluid in your lungs. A blood clot may be what gets you. If your blood pressure drops critically, your heart may stop. And after several rounds of CPR, your pulse and circulation might return, but your family is faced with the most challenging decision of all. Because at stage 7, after several meetings with the palliative care team, they may be forced to decide to withdraw care. They extubate you, turn off the breathing machinery, set up a final FaceTime call, and as they go through the room, there is crying and loving goodbyes. And the nurses and the doctors and the respiratory therapists hold your hand until your last natural breath. It's brutal. It is nothing I would wish upon my worst enemy. And that's the experience that Michael had these last few weeks. A man that enjoyed sitting and spinning on Major Hubbard's chair, who laughed with so many of you, who mentored younger officers, who Chief Holloway was quoted in the newspaper as saying, if he took over a scene, you knew it was done right. He's not with us anymore, and that's a tragedy. In the Jewish tradition, I mentioned before the Mishnah from Pirkei Avot, but there's 6 orders of the Mishnah and many more books of the Mishnah, and one of them, Tractate Sanhedrin, speaks about law and justice and how to speak to the witness of a crime. And in reminding the witness of the vital importance of honesty, they are told that he who saves one life, it is as if they saved the entire world. And to destroy one life is to destroy the entire world. Over the course of Michael's life, there are so many lives he saved, so many worlds that he created, so many worlds that he ensured had real possibility. And it's awful, it's tragic, it's terrible, it is wrong. It is just wrong that we are sitting here today. So outside there's a vaccine clinic. And the Department of Health will be there to 2:30 this afternoon. And if today until 2:30 doesn't work for you, you can walk into any Publix, CVS, Walgreens, practically any drugstore in this country and get a shot. Get that vaccine for Michael. Get that vaccine for your wife, for your husband, for your children. Get that vaccine for your parents. Because the thing is, there is no parent in the world who wants to bury their child. It is not the way we wish to live. Don't get it for yourself. You're not worried about yourself. You've chosen to be in a line where you care of others before yourself. So don't get the shot for you. Get the shot for our city. Get the shot for our community, for our state, for the people who are looking up and out to you. Save one life. Save an entire world. I heard from Chief Holloway that so far today, we've gotten 10. I was hoping for 1. So we beat it tenfold. But my prayer is that by the end of today, we get 100. Maybe even more. So if you're not getting that shot because of fear of some unknown side effect or what's in it, if you eat a hamburger or carry around a cell phone, you've already had everything that's in it, and you're already being tracked by the government. Or at least Facebook and Twitter, which some days feels like they are the government. One crappy day, if you happen to get side effects from the vaccine, is a hell of a lot better. I'm a rabbi, I don't mind that word so much. It's a hell of a lot better than losing your life. Your children, your parents, your commanding officers, your colleagues would all rather cover you for one day than sit here for another funeral. So you may not be Jewish, but please write yourself in the book of life for this year. Michael was a mensch. He was a man who loved his late father Norman, his mother Lois, his stepfather Melvin, his brother Daniel, his dogs Rocky and Harley, but most of all he loved his wife Karen of nearly 19 years. They loved to barbecue, to play cornhole, to go cycling on the Pinellas Trail. Mike was a phenomenal listener, a master of the English language, a writer. He was not a judgmental person. He was aware of his surroundings. He was cautious. He was a man I would have enjoyed to have had the opportunity to ride my bike with. And I'm sorry I didn't get that chance. So in the Jewish tradition, we pray that someone's memory be a blessing. And I pray for each and every one of you that you will emulate Michael's positive actions in this world, that you will open your heart and you will do good, that you will share his desire for service. And for goodness sake, if you haven't gotten a vaccine, please do. Save your life and save an entire world. I'm going to ask you to rise with me. El Malei Rachamim, Shochem Bamromim, Hamsem Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, B'malot Kedoshim Tehorim, Zukia Mazirim, and Ishman Michael David Ben Nachum Belekam, שלח לעולמו בגן תמנוחתו, אנא בעל הרחמים, הסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור חיים, נשמתו נחלתו, ונח בשלום המשכבו ונאמר אמן. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Michael David, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. And those of you who are familiar with the words of the Kaddish, I'll invite you to join with me. We praise God. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. V'yalma divrach rotei v'yamlech malchutei. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei t'chol Beit Yisrael. B'gala u'b'zman kariv v'yamru Amen. Yehesh shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha v'richum. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata damiran v'yalma v'yamru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yamru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Huya aseh shalom. Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yamru Amen. Ribbono shel olam, Master of the universe, Creator of heaven, earth, all humanity, be gracious to your children who mourn. May the light of your presence dispel the gloom of absence so keenly felt on this sad day. Bless them with your compassion, empower them with your love, touch them with the fullness of your heart, that they may be granted inner peace. Was it not you who said, "Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will sustain you with my power." As we remember the blessings in Michael's life, we ask you, Eternal One, to remember your promise to us. Let us say, Amen. At this time, we will begin final honors outside the Colosseum. We ask that the guests inside begin their procession through the front doors to the ceremony location. Thank you.